The Senate has already confirmed 8 of President Trump's exceptional cabinet nominees. We expect the Senate to continue quickly confirming the remainder of President.
You think I'm being a doomer? Okay. I think that the issues. So this is the big problem. I think the issues is that your guy just started a trade war with the greatest partner for no fucking reason. Everybody's price is about to go up 25%. You're saying Democrats are captured by ideology. You don't see, this is the problem, is like you're thinking in terms of logic and facts, and that's not the way that people vote. So you have this idea, you've been captured by the logic of this, and you've decided that, well, because I have convinced myself that this is accurate, then this is what's real. That's fine. Like, you can do that, and you can be right about everything that you're saying, and it won't matter, because when people hear the people that are saying that shit that I just played, they're gonna vote against it no matter what. And that's what you don't get it. Like, you might think that you understand the politics of it, but you know who the politics are made by? They're made by people, and the people don't think like that. And as soon as you understand that, then you can understand where these problems are coming from. That's it. And the people are, yes, who uses logic and common sense? Not as many people as you would imagine. So play the clip. Yeah, it's just, you're not thinking in a way that's successful. I'll be right back.
Trump's well-qualified nominees in the days ahead.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt feeling optimistic about the rest of President Trump's cabinet nominees making it through the Senate, but the toughest are still to come, and our next guest may hold one of the key votes. Joining us now, Senator John Fetterman. Welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Hi. How are you?
Okay, I'm great. Let's start with RFK Jr. He's been through his hearing. This is what the Washington Post says. His confirmation hearings were even worse than expected. The HHS nominee's answers to senators' questions were absurd and dangerous. Now, I know.
What? Huh?
That you've had multiple conversations with him. Where are you this morning?
I have. I've invested a lot of time to really understand his background and to learn more about the man. And I've sat down with him twice in my office to have a conversation. So whatever the vote comes down on, that's going to come. It's going to come an informed view. And I approached with an open mind, and I watched the hearing, and that's how the process works.
So how
imagine that.
Decision?
I've been following it, and I talked to my colleagues on both sides, and I've said this on the record. It's like, you know, it's been challenging for sure. Absolutely. It's certainly not a slam dunk for the nomination. Will
you reveal your vote before you get to the floor, or is this going to be like a game time decision for you?
Oh.
No. I mean, it's like, you mean right before I stick my thumb in the door?
Are we going to know before that?
No, it's just part of an ongoing. It's part of the ongoing dialogue on where we are at this. But I've made an investment to really understand and talk to all of the nominees, and I treated everyone with respect, and I took the time to listen, and that's been part of my commitment.
Okay, so you've also met with Kash Patel. He's been tapped to lead the FBI. There are reports that after your conversation, you said he assured you he would not go after a so-called...
Yeah, so what's happened is that there's a guy with brain damage who seems to be one of the most reasonable people. It really, I don't know how this happened.
Enemies list. Have you made a decision on him?
Crazy. Wow.
Well, and again, that's part of the own process too. I believe I'm the only Democrat, or maybe one of the only few, that have actually met with all of them. And again, I've approached all of them with, again, that open mind to have a conversation. And I don't trust, and certainly not, you know, many of the things that were written or said about me weren't true. So I assume the same might be them as well too. So I've maintained
which is logical. People write bullshit about everybody, of course.
Dialogue to really understand.
You shouldn't just
and
believe
I've
it.
watched these hearings, and that's part of, you know, if our job is to consent, and that is part of the process. And there are some along, out of all of them, I have voted for them, and there's some that I won't vote for them. But it's going to be about an open process that I've maintained throughout the entire time.
And I know that includes meeting with Tulsi Gabbard as well. I mean, she's got concerns from both sides of the aisle. Can you tell us more about your conversations with her and if you've landed on a decision regarding her?
No, it's, again, I just really pretty much the exact same as the two that you just brought up.
Okay, now you have, as you noted, voted for some of President Trump's nominees in this process, and you were one of the only Democrats to vote for the Laken-Riley Act. We saw you as part of the signing ceremony for that with her family, with President Trump this week. Now, there's been some blowback from the left about voting for that act, about the ICE
This
raid.
is about deporting criminals. Yeah. Yep. He got a lot of criticism for deporting criminals. Yep. People were not happy at all.
That are going on now across the country. I want to get your reaction to some local officials who say either they're not going to cooperate, they're going to actively block these, or in some cases, they're just going to give people advice on how to avoid the raids. Here are some local officials reacting in the last few days.
Our police officers will not be cooperating with federal law enforcement around federal immigration law.
Being a welcoming city just simply states that our local police department will not behave as federal agents.
We have a sanctuary ordinance, a state law, SB 54, that generally prohibits our police department from participating in immigration enforcement.
So what obligations do or don't you think?
I'm sure this is going to go over really well. This is so stupid. No federal funding for those cities. I don't know if they should do that yet or not. I don't. I think that what they should do is, this is what I would do. I would wait for one of these people to, eventually there will be one of the people that is an illegal immigrant there that is commits a crime and kills somebody, right? This will happen. And when it does happen, charge them as an accessory to the murder. Done.
Local officials have with respect
That's what
to
I do.
the feds and these deportations?
I hope every local official would agree.
They allowed
that
it.
Anyone here, any of the migrants that are here.
Because the big problem is that, and this goes back to what I said before, is that the big problem is that a lot of these people that are in powerful positions never face any level of genuine accountability for their actions. And this is something that, like, for example, we're always talking about, like, oh, well, all these, like, illegal immigrants. Well, why the fuck are the illegal immigrants here? It's because they're getting hired. They're getting paid. And so it's like, really, the people, you know who should be paying for the deportation flights? Are the companies that created the ecosystem and the economy for them to be here in the first place. They're the ones who should be fucking paying for it, because they caused the problem to happen.
With criminal backgrounds
yes.
or engaging in criminal behavior, I think they should support that. Now, if ICE comes to round them up, I hope they would provide that kind of support. I certainly would never support terrorizing otherwise innocent migrants in those kinds of situations, or kicking in a door at a school. But I think we can all agree that every migrant here with a criminal background or engaging in criminal behavior should all needs to go.
Okay, so you also were the only Democrat vote in
what?
trying to move together a measure pushing back against the ICC. Specifically, it seems, for their decision to go after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, among others. This illegitimate court counteraction act was supposed to impose sanctions with respect to the ICC, engaged in any effort to investigate, arrest, detain, or prosecute any protected person of the United States and its allies. Why do you think you were the only Democrat to vote on moving that forward procedurally?
Well, I said that on social media, that I was incredibly disappointed. I absolutely disagree with that. I can't really understand why my my party hasn't joined me in voting to sanction the ICC. When you've equivocated the Democratic leader of our special ally with the rapists and cowards of Hamas, especially after what you've seen, after terrorizing that poor hostage, you had hundreds and hundreds of people, the chaos, it's like, and they've equivocated that with the prime minister. It's vile. I mean, my colleague that's going to be next up on your show, we've had a long going conversation in order to sanction the ICC. And I was absolutely supportive of that, and I can't defend why my party chose not to.
So the prime minister he's on his way to Washington to have meetings here, including at the White House with President Trump. Do you think that there will be a different relationship between the U.S. and Israel with the Trump administration versus a Biden administration?
Well, there's going to be some situations where I absolutely support
I can't see how it's in America's best interest to keep trying to continue relations with Israel. I just don't. I could see an argument for a geopolitical reason, but I don't really see how it's in our best interest to keep protecting and funding and giving money to Israel. Explain to me why it's good for me that my tax money is going towards this country that's completely on the other side of the world. I don't really hate Israel. I don't hate Palestine. I just think that our tax money and our government should be working on our stuff and not theirs. It should not even be a factor. It's so weird that this is even happening. It's literally geopolitical. I mean, but is that advantage, has that advantage really benefited us? I feel like I don't know. I mean, especially, I'm sure it, and by the way, I'm sure it has to an extent, but for how much money that we do, how much money that we're putting into this, Israel would get wrecked without support. So now we have to give them money. I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. I want the Congress of the United States to work in the best interest of the United States. And if they can think in an abstract term that Israel is in the best interest, that's fine. And maybe I could hear an argument for it. But I really this is not my problem. It's not our war.
The decisions with Israel
Massive amount of
Joe
money.
Biden made. And I'm going to agree with some of the decisions with President Trump, or I'm going to disagree with them as well. But that's why my vote and my voice is going to follow Israel through all of this situation. I'm going to disagree with either of the presidents, but I'm going to stand with Israel, just like that vote against the ICC. And I absolutely was supporting blocking the ban on the 2,000-pound bombs as well. I fully support bringing those back.
All right, Senator, we will watch for your votes on all those critical nominees, but you can always let me know if you decide to before you press that button. It's always great to see you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's crazy how, I don't know how, but a guy who's had brain damage and recovering from a stroke seems to be the only person that has any degree of common sense here. I mean, the Israel thing, I think, is kind of, I'm kind of torn on it. I'm not a huge supporter of that. But especially with the border stuff, it's not even a question. I'm surprised that anybody's even discussing it at all. So yeah, it's insane to me.